All right, kids, welcome back on this glorious Friday as we are heading into a wonderful weekend. And yesterday, we went through our video on creating our motion graph project, and we went through the first three types of graphs. And basically what we did was this. We said our focus was constant speed. So you can see that my focus here in the graph is constant speed. And there is a reason why there's red there. We wrote a story. Nicola drove at a constant speed, then stopped at a stoplight. So Nicola drove at a constant speed, then stopped at a stoplight. My story works so far. Then she drove a little more at a constant speed, and then she went back home. Okay, so she drove more at a constant speed, then she returned back to home because this is a distance time graph. And we see that it fit. And the reason why the red there is because we talk about our misconceptions, or we tell someone, if we're teaching someone about this, to be careful. This is not a hill. This is not acceleration. And you can see how we went through the rest of these slides. We had the first focus was constant speed. Then we had a focus on at rest. And if there's one on the constant speed and at rest, then the only other graph that I'm going to make you do in the project is the one where you're comparing the speeds of different objects. And so that would be here. Obviously, I went back in and added some, I think, pretty funny GIFs in here. Forrest Gump may be fast, but he's not as fast as Flash. Although that's not what I talked about here. It was like Mr. Bullen's racing Dawson yesterday in class. But we just wanted to see in our last class if we could actually add GIFs, and you can. And I'm not saying you have to do that. I just thought I would add it on there and see what it looks like. And I actually kind of like that. Very easy to add those in. So you can see how I have my misconceptions in red. And then they usually typically match up with what's going on in here. Not a flat road. Nope, that is not a flat road. This is not constant speed. It would be on a speed time graph, but this is again, like we said, distance time graph. And yesterday we said that today we were going to start looking at the three speed time graphs, and we are going to do that now. So again, you may have to click here, and I'll even let me take this text box out just so we can remind how many to keep on it. All right, so if I click in here, Mr. Bullens, I can't type. Like, it's okay. I made a mistake, didn't put the text box in there. I thought I did, but apparently I didn't. Just click this little button here, text box, and you'll hold down your mouse pad and you'll just drag across with the other finger and let it go. And there's a text box. I'm going to boost this up to like 30 because it seems to work out. Now, yesterday we were doing distance time graphs. Today we're doing speed time graphs. And our first one, we are going to have our focus be constant speed. Our first one, we're going to have our focus be constant speed. So I need to remember what constant speed looks like on a speed time graph. And if I can use my chart. So maybe if I've forgotten, I can come back here and open this up and be like, let's see, there it is. Oh, it's that horizontal straight line on the speed time graphs. I'm going to go back to here, and I'll say, okay, I know that I need to focus on that, so I'm going to start off with my car going at a constant speed. And so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put in a line. Now remember, if you click on it and it looks like this, it's not a line. If you click on it, you get that little arrow, you have a line. So I'm going to have a car that's going at a constant speed. And, Mr. Bullens, I see the blue line now, but when I click off of it, it's almost impossible to see. And again, we'll just remind people that we did yesterday. You're right, it is almost impossible to see. But if I click on it and I change how thick the line is to 8, now it is very easy to see on my graph. I'll even go in just to make sure we do this part. And just to remind people, this is a speed time graph. Put speed over here on my y-axis. Now, I have a car that's going at a constant speed. And so, let's just say you're driving down the road. You're going to the mountains on a beautiful Sunday. You're getting ready to head, right up the mountain. And here is this super old couple, and they are just driving so slow. They're not even near the speed limit. They're going like 35 and a 65. And you don't want to be mean and tailgate them, so you would go around them. Now, in order to go around them, you would have to speed up and get in the left lane. So we need to remember what speeding up looks like on this graph. And if we go back, we can look at that and say, aha, acceleration looks like this on a speed time graph. I'm going to go slap that in there. So I grab my line. I speed up a little bit to get around this person, change the thickness of my line. So now here's where you got to be careful. You're thinking, okay, I've sped up to go around him. Do you want to keep going that same speed? Maybe not. Maybe you're actually a little bit over the speed limit to get around them really quickly. So you want to slow back down to the speed limit. So what does slowing down look like? Well, let's go back and look. This is decelerating. Okay, so I go back into my graph. Do I have my, there it is. And I decelerate. I'm going to change the thickness of that line. And then I'm going to drive at a constant speed again. And I'm done. So this is what my graph would look like. So you put your story in. If I can, there we go, Mr. B. I was driving and got behind, let's say, a tractor this time. My goodness gracious, I sped up to go around the tractor. Spell tractor right too, Mr. B. My goodness gracious. I sped up to go around the tractor, then slowed back down and went a constant speed. And I see that I've missed that. I was driving at a constant speed and got behind a tractor. There we go. So I was driving at a constant speed. I got behind the tractor. I sped up to go around the tractor. Is that in there? I got, yep. Then I slowed back down, right? And I went a constant speed. Okay. Now, here's the big thing. Again, the focus on this is the constant speed, which is this line, which I'm going to change the color of like this, and this line, which I'm going to change the color of like that again. What are change the color of my font here, misconceptions that people might have? Well, if we think back to previously when we had flat lines, okay, these meant at rest back in the day because that was a distance time graph. But now we are actually working on a speed time graph. So we don't want to confuse this. This is not at rest. That is a distance time graph. And although this class has done a great job with this, this is not a flat road. You guys have done a great job with that one. Okay, so let's check and see what we need to work on next. We go back, we say, okay, we need to show some acceleration. Okay, not a problem. So we're going to have speed time graph, our focus, acceleration. Okay, so if I think about a story about that, okay, it could be pretty similar, but you know, I got a new motorcycle and took it out for a ride. I was driving on the road and had to get on the highway. That's driving on the road at a constant speed. We'll just do that. I accelerated, get on the highway. Mr. Bullens cannot spell again. My goodness gracious. I stayed at the same speed goodness. I'm telling you, doing a video and typing is not my skill. I stayed at the same speed until I decelerated when I got off the highway. Okay, so I need to think about that. Here we go. Let's do this one here. Okay, so I have a new motorcycle. Okay, I'm driving at a constant speed. So let's put a constant speed. We just did that, so we're good at that. Constant speed. And we'll change the thickness of that. But I needed to get on the highway. So in order to get on the highway, you have this thing called an acceleration ramp. So I accelerated to get onto the highway. Typically, the highway speeds are a little faster than your back roads. So you stayed at the same speed on the highway until you had to get off the highway and you slowed down. And then let's say you went at a constant speed there. Now, the things that I need to look at, the big thing that I'm looking at is acceleration. So the only one I'm going to change on this one is acceleration. Okay? When I accelerated. So, does that fit my story? Yes. What are my misconceptions? And this is going to be a good example of one of these. I'm glad this is going to work out like this. What are my misconceptions? Well, if I look at this, number one, this is not a hill. Now, if this were a distance time graph, this would be constant speed. So don't confuse with constant speed. Why that is on a distance time graph. Now let's just pretend that all of this didn't fit. You are welcome to go back in and change the font size to make it fit in your box if you need to. Okay, I thought I was going to have to do that, but I actually didn't. All right, so there's two. Okay, we've got, and we look over here, I've got this one finished. So guess what the next thing I'm doing is decelerating. Okay, I'm decelerating. So I need to, in my graph and in my story, I need to have some things where I was slowing down. Okay, so if we click into here, speed time graph with our focus, deceleration. Okay. Let's see. I wish this was true. I was at Carowinds and the roller coaster was speeding up. Wow, did I completely just misspell some stuff there. Speeding up, going down the big hill. Then it decelerated when it had to climb the next hill. I accelerated, oh my goodness, when we went over the hill, and then decelerated when we came back into the station. Okay, so I have a roller coaster, accelerating, decelerating, accelerating, and then decelerating. So I need to put that in here. So roller coaster, I have some massive acceleration going up, going down the big hill. So you just got on Fury, you climb the giant hill, you're going down the first big hill, and then what happens then is you start to go back up another hill, and you might decelerate. You don't come back to your complete speed. You keep a pretty good amount of speed. Then I'm going to accelerate again. Obviously not as high as the other one. And then I'm actually going to decelerate. I might actually change that and come to a stop. We haven't really talked about that a whole lot. Since this is 0, I'm going to come to a complete stop in this story. There we go. On that line. There we go. Where we stopped. There we go. All right, so looks like a big giant M with a thing hanging off the end there. All right, one moment. What are my misconceptions? Not hills, not going back to the start.